Okay, in the week 6 homework, in the first question, only the bottom needs opening. So let's open that. So the 2 is multiplied by the 4, 8, and the power on the b is 1, so 1 times 4 is 4. And then simply you can see that the 8 is bigger than -3 and 5 is bigger than 4. So you subtract them like so. Then the answer is done for number 1. And then for number 2, you can observe that that's actually a perfect square, or if you don't understand that, you can use your calculator and type in 9, 0 and -64 in your formula number 1. But anyway, you would get for answer for A is 3x plus 8y and 3x minus 8y. Okay, this is using the difference of squares formula. And then in part B, because you copy the first part's answer and along with it you have so, and then you need to see what can you make of the factorized form of the second part. So you can see you can take out a 3, which will now make a common term with these two, and those two would be then now factorized. (3x plus 8y), and then the leftover is the 3x minus 8y and the 3. So 3 marks there. So 1 mark for the answer of part A, 1 mark for the method, and then 1 mark for the answer. So 3 marks in total. And then for number 3, since you have a fraction to deal with, like how I told you, you multiply both denominators to both sides. And then what you will see is that the denominators get cancelled by those things. So you have that remaining, and then finally you're going to make x the subject. So 6y minus 10 becomes plus 10 is equal to 15x, and then finally 6y plus 10 over 15 is your answer. So that's for part A. And in part B, they're telling you that y's value increased by 5, and you write down the change in value pics. So there's actually 2 ways to do it, and the way I'm going to show you today is to be done on a rough worksheet. Okay, so what I've drawn in the box should not be written on your piece of paper. It should be done separately, and on the piece of paper you should only write down the direct answer, because it says write down the change. So we don't need to say how we did it, we just need to write it down. So how we will do that is, first we'll assign that y was 0. Okay, and then because the question says y is increased by 5, so the second value we'll consider is when y increases by 0 from 0 to 5, so which is 5. And then all we need to do is to find the values of them individually. So when it was 0, so 6 times 0 is 0, so plus 10 over 15 gives you 2 over 3. And then when you use it as a 5, then 6 times 5 plus 10 over 15, so that is 40 over 15, and you simplify it, it becomes 8 over 3. Okay, and then all you need to do is to get the new answer, which is the 8 over 3, minus the first answer, which is 2 over 3, which will give you 6 over 3, which is just a 2. So since the answer is positive and it's a 2, so we write down x increases for the positive by 2. Okay, that's all we need to write down as the answer on the paper, but we will do the rough work like so. Okay, then that's the first 3 questions done. So we'll get 2 marks for part 2 and 2 marks for part 1. And then for the 4th question about the percentage, the cost of a dictionary is $50, sorry, and then it is sold at a discount of 10% on the mark price. So this SP was actually by giving a 10% discount. Okay, then the percent profit is 44%. So actually, if he's gonna make a 44% profit, then we can actually make another equation that on the cost he is gonna make a profit of 44%. And now we need to find the mark price. And since we are given the cost of the dictionary, which is 50, so we can just basically get the calculation done on the second equation for SP equal to 50 times 1.44, which is 72. So that is now then put into the first equation. So 72 is the selling price. So mark price 1 minus 10% 0.9, and you will calculate that the mark price will be $80. So we use the first equation that relates the selling price and the profit, and then with the help of the selling price that's found, we can then find the mark price. And then let's go on to the next question, the inequality question. So first of all, let's get two things done. Let's open up the bracket. So the 2 times 6 is 12, and the negative x is also multiplied by the 2, and at the same time the 3 is multiplied over to the other side, so getting you that, and then the 2x would be then moved over. You get 60, and then you get the negative 12. So finally push it back onto the correct side. So that's the first answer done. And in part B, since the first answer is still there, so that's from A. Then for the second one, we'll move the 25 over, and then the 4x onto the other side. So 9 minus 24 is negative 16, and then you divide it by 4, you get negative 4. So then, because this is an AND condition, we have to satisfy both. So negative 12 and negative 4, since negative 4 is smaller, negative 4 is bigger, so they arranged in that way. So they're both going the same direction. And then for the negative 4 is the opposite way, because you need to make sure that you put it back onto the correct side before you just follow the arrows. And then that's the area that we're looking at. So even numbers. So since it's darkened, so negative 4 will be counted, and then we have a negative 6, that's an even number, then we have a negative 8, then we have a negative 10, then it's a negative 12, but negative 12 is not included in our answer, so therefore there's only 4 answers for in part B. So we write a negative 4, negative 6, negative 8, and negative 10 only. So that would be the answer for B. Then for number 6, the first part is quite easy. So they're asking for the angle POQ. So without even drawing that, you should be able to calculate that angle. It's only the angles that they gave you. Just subtract them, okay? So 165 minus 75, which is 90, okay? So if I see 90, I would be thinking about Pythagoras theorem. So let's see if we need to use it. So if we follow the coordinates rules that I talked about in the video that I show you the introduction on, so you should be able to write down the 75 degrees, so it's about 90 degrees, so less than 90 degrees. So P would be right here, so we can assign that as 8, and then as 75 degrees. And then Q is 15, but at 165, so that's about there, and it's a little bit longer, so 15, and that angle is 165. So the difference in between these angles is how you got the 90. So that's actually a 90 degree angle. Okay, so now because this O and that's P, so that's Q, and they're asking us to find the perimeter of this triangle. Okay, so that means we need to find this remaining side, and because it's a 90 degree angle, we should be learning and thinking about Pythagoras theorem. So QP squared is actually equal to QO squared and PO squared. So it's 15 squared plus 8 squared will give you the questions needed number, and if you square root it you get the answer, which is 17. So since this is 17, they ask me for the perimeter. So for part B, the perimeter is the three sides add together, the 17, the 15 and the 8. So that would be a 40 units, because there's no units given, so 40 units. For number 7, since the arc length is given, so we can use the arc formula. So the arc formula is the arc length, it's always equal to theta over 360 times 2 pi r, and actually the pi is what we are looking for, and we are given the radius already, which is 15, and we are also given the arc length with this 10 pi. And first of all, what we will do is to get rid of the pi's immediately, and then we can get the calculation done to get my theta. So 30, 12, so it's 120 degrees. Okay, so theta is 120 degrees, so therefore we can now find the area of the sector. So the area of sector formula is also theta over 360, but now because we're talking about area, so we use the circle area formula, pi r square, and we know theta is now 120 and pi was 15, r was 15 square, and then we can get the calculation done. 1 3, so it's, and 15 square, so first of all you can cancel the 1 of the 15 to be a 5 with the 3, and this is 75 pi square units, and that would be the answer for number 7 done as well. Then for number 8, we are given the fx equation already, so that's good, and then we're given that x plus 4 is a factor, so f negative 4 is 0, and then when it's divided by x minus 1, so f1, then we get a remainder, which is 2h plus 47. So we're gonna make use of these two statements and make two equations. So first of all, the f negative 4, so negative 4 plus 1 squared plus h negative 4 plus k, it's equal to 0 because that's the factor. And then when we use f1, so 2 bracket 1 plus 1 square plus h1 plus k equals to 2h plus 47, and those will be your calculations. And then if you use your program number 1, you'll be able to find out the h value is actually negative 11 and the k value is actually 28. And then we're going to use these numbers to do part B. And then in part B, so h and k is found, that's part A's answer. And part B, the fx equation is not a good one because we only needed 2 brackets, and then it's not in the 2 brackets, so we have to unfortunately open this up now. But let's put the h and k's in there first. So first of all, let's complete the expansion of the bracket first. And then we'll multiply the x squared, 2x into the x squared, and then the 2x, and then the 1. And then we can combine the x term. Now we're going to do the synthetic division or the short division, and since the factor is needed, so I'll use the negative 4 outside, and the coefficients are such, and then when you do the calculation, 2 times negative 4 is negative 8, and when you add them is negative 4, that makes a 16, and then that's a 7, and that's a negative 28, and that makes it 0, so it's fine. So that's the remainder should be 0. So actually you can get now in two brackets, one's the factor, which is the x plus 4, and then the quotient is the 2x squared minus 4x plus 7. And now it says that is equal to 0, right? So from here we got x plus 4 equal to 0, so x is negative 4, so that's one real root here. And then we can do the same for the second bracket, and we can pick our calculator and then use formula 1, and we can see that actually gives us a math error. So for that we have to use the b squared minus 4ac to prove it. So b squared minus 4a, which is discriminant, so a is 2 and then 7, so 16 minus 56, so it's negative 40, and which is less than 0, so that is less than 0, so therefore no real roots in here. So there is actually only one real root, so the claim is agreed. So only one real root. So since there's only one real root, therefore the claim is agreed. So the only root being the negative 4, and then there's no roots in the second part, so only one real root. And that's also number 8 done. Number 9 is quite straightforward. Let's make the equation of the variation relation. So the given b, that p varies partly, so k1 x, and partly as x squared. Okay, so that's the equation that we are given. So we need to plug the x and the 9,900 in. So 9,900 is k1 30 plus k2 30 square, and then the second equation is 21,500 is equal to k1 50 plus k2 50 square. Okay, and that would then now be plugged into your program 1, where you can find k1 and k2, and then basically they are asking for the second part. So they are asking for the area of the flat, which is x value. So in the second part you will be expected to put in the 3100, and you, because you know what k1 is, so that's x, and then you will also know what k2 is, which is then next to x squared, and you can solve it. Using your program 1, you found that k1 is 180 and k2 is 5, and then you should be able to realize that actually this is a quadratic equation which you have to solve, which is 5x squared plus 180x, and then subtracting the 37100 over to make it 0, and then you can pick up your calculator again and use formula 1. So a is 5, b is 180, and then c is negative 37100, and then the first answer that you get is x is 70, and then the second answer you get is x is actually negative 106. But in this case, x is a area, and area cannot be negative, so you have to reject the second answer. So the only answer that is making sense is 70 meters square. So that's it, and that's the end of the week 6 homework.